Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, I'm back. And today we're going to be talking about something red hot, something fiery, a very hot take topic, depending on which series is personally regarded by you as one of the best. I'm going to be talking about today something that I have not considered for a while, mostly because I think that it requires a lot of thought, it requires a lot of time and effort and participation on my end, and it is definitely not because I came up with this psychotic thumbnail that I needed a spontaneous video idea for in order to match using that thumbnail, mostly because of how proud I was of creating it. That is not the case, and if you accuse me of so, you can leave this video right now, hopefully not before you subscribe and like, but you could please leave, alright? Because that's not the case. I take a lot of time and effort in my videos, and when people tell me that I don't do so, I take it very personally, alright? Now, for any of you that happen to be, let's say, in the Discord for Goosebumps, and you happen to know that I made this thumbnail first, I'm just going to block you because I don't need you exposing my business. I don't need you to leak anything, alright? That's not for these people to know, and yes, I admitted it on camera. You're blocked. You're gone. You're gone, alright? Today I'm going to be talking about what is my most highly rated and consistently good series that I have either read, watched, or done both for. Now, this is tough from a subjective standpoint because series like Goosebumps, Creepshow, Are You Afraid of the Dark have had certain stories that I highly regard as absolutely phenomenal, fantastic stories, all right? But although they do have fantastic stories that I regard highly and are some of my personal favorites, or some that I think are very iconic, there are a lot of episodes or stories or books that are very mid, very bad, and they don't get the high ratings despite some of the highlights regarding that series. Take, for example, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Are You Afraid of the Dark has some of my favorite, episodes / story segments that I've ever watched so far. One of the best ones in kids horror, kids horror in general, teen horror, I guess, is The Tale of the Secret Admirer, which I made a video on called the best Are You Afraid of the Dark episode that I've ever watched. That was The Tale of the Secret Admirer. Absolutely fantastic, absolutely amazing. It actually inspired an episode segment later on in another show that I watched that is one of my favorites of all time as well. But a lot of the episodes in Are You Afraid of the Dark are mid, they're bad, some of them are genuinely awful, straight sewer septic tank scum, like you got the peak of kids horror, teen horror, adult horror evolution, and then you get stuff like The Gruesome Gourmets, and then The Tale of the Hungry Hounds, which is like single-celled amoebas, back during the beginning of the earth, the beginning of life itself. Go back to the Triassic, Jurassic, Cretaceous period. That's what that shit is, right? Straight shit. And then you got peak. So that doesn't really set up for the best series. Goosebumps has a lot of stinkers, a lot of mid in it. I've been watching Tales from the Dark Side. I recently just watched one of the best episodes from the series, which I think is absolutely fantastic. May or may not be called The Circus. Teleplay by George Romero. But a lot of season 1 and even season 2 has some stinkers in it. But then you have a certain series. There's a certain series on my list of stuff that I have either reviewed, watched, or ranked. A lot of it is stuff that I've watched and read because there's a lot of stuff that I have not reviewed for you guys because it's a long, long list. I'm addicted. I have an addiction to not getting bored. If you have a problem with it, you get blocked. I am a fraud, but you get blocked because you get blocked by a fraud. That's a bigger L. There's a series that I've not done any reviews for, but it is a series that I have severely beloved as a kid, and it is a series that has gotten the most consistently high rankings from me, the highest scores consistently in terms of the TV show, and actually it's a good reference point because there is a collection of short stories from the series, which I have read relatively recently, a short while ago, and I absolutely loved a majority of the short stories in that book. In fact, the top short stories in that book are some of my favorite kids horror short stories of all time. So I actually have a good comparison for the series. I have 10 short stories that I mostly absolutely loved and read, and then I have a whole bunch of episodes which have consistently gotten, sevens or higher, 8 or higher, a lot of 9 and higher. And that is, drum roll please, baby. What series am I talking about, you guys? You guys must be in suspense because I've dragged this out for 5 minutes to hype it up. The most consistently high-ranked series that I have reviewed and not reviewed, I keep saying reviewed, that I have read and watched is one from R.L. Stine, and it is called, loosely from R.L. Stine, The Haunting Hour. The Haunting Hour is, objectively speaking, from my rankings and ratings, the best series that I have read or watched. It has the most amount of consistent high scores, and it has some of my favorite stuff that I've read in terms of my favorite short stories of all time and my favorite episodes of all time. The Haunting Hour is one that I used to religiously watch as a kid. I remember I used to get babysitted by my dad. My parents were divorced, so I used to go over to my dad's apartment, and he's got this small apartment. There's not a lot to do. He's got TV and stuff, so I get bored a lot. But I used to watch every single week as the new Haunting Hour episodes came out, and I absolutely loved it. Haunting Hour has a lot of variety in the show. It has a lot of much darker content that kind of suits me. I prefer the darker content. Even some of the ridiculous stuff has some iconicness in terms of how funny and goofy it is. And also the short story collection that I read recently has a lot of my favorite short stories of all time. A lot of super dark, super weird, super strange short stories that I absolutely love. So, and unfortunately, none of those short stories got adapted into the show. Actually, The Nightmare Hour, which is the weaker short story collection of the two, it got most of the adaptations. But, The Haunting Hour has a lot of bangers. There's a lot of straight banger stories in The Haunting Hour that were absolutely awesome. I mean, I love those short stories and a lot of great episodes that I love. Some of my top episodes in The Haunting Hour, Haunting Hour has the most consistently high scores out of all of my ratings and rankings that I saw. You have episodes like The Scarecrow. The Scarecrow gets a 10 out of 10. It's a dystopian kind of story, this alternate future about these farm kids and farm family who all of a sudden start realizing that people are going missing from their town. The population of the world and the animals, it's all sort of disappearing. The world is becoming more quiet, and there's this sort of messenger that represents like the 4 horsemen, I guess, the horsemen of death or something, and it turns into a really dark dystopic story. That one got a 10 out of 10. It's one of the most impressive stories I've ever seen in kids horror because it doesn't feel like kids horror. It doesn't feel like teen horror. It feels like some real adult movie. Like if this got turned into a movie, it would probably go crazy. You have my favorite, probably, I guess, teen horror episode, kids horror, whatever. I still consider it kids horror, but middle school teen horror episode of all time, which is The Dead Body and The Secret Admirer from Tales from the Dark Side, which is actually, or not Tales from the Dark Side, Are You Afraid of the Dark? My bad. I've been watching too much Tales from the Dark Side. From Are You Afraid of the Dark is one of my favorite, Are You Afraid of the Dark episode of all time. That one also got a 10 out of 10. And this one, The Dead Body, gets a 9.8 out of 10. It is so creepy. It has a super tense atmosphere. Jake Skinner is one of the most coolest, badass villains I've seen. He's got swag. He's got charm. He's got really good scares and tactics in the episode. And I really love the cast of characters, the main girl interest, the main character kid, Jake Skinner, those guys. I really like it. The Dead Bodies is also good. I didn't regard it as highly as I did the first one. The first one to me is super dark, super awesome, and super great. And actually, this episode ended up getting phone calls from fans where they were talking, they were complaining about how dark the ending was. I was surprised. I was like, people are calling in, the studio and saying that this is too dark, this is too sad. They wanted a happy ending. And maybe that's why I think the Dead Bodies sequel came out, because people were calling in and complaining. So after a while, they're like, you know what? We had people calling in. We're going to bring this some closure. But the first one is absolutely iconic, super dark. You have things like the Dreamcatcher. Although it's not my favorite, Dreamcatcher is super dark, super terrifying. The monster will give even adults nightmares. I've heard adults watch this episode when they grow up, and they're still terrified by the Dreamcatcher monster. It's super terrifying, and the ending is so cold. They gave one of the coldest lines to the Dreamcat. It is one of the most ice cold lines that I've ever heard that ends off the episode where basically, I mean, I'm not going to give full context to what happens just to avoid spoilers, but minor spoilers. Let's just say something happens to a certain character involving the Dreamcatcher, and they're basically not sure if this is reality or real life. And the Dreamcatcher is crawling towards the character in this weird, eldritch horror spider, motion. Got the all white face, got the fangs, got the whited out, no pupil eyes, like straight white eyes. And he's crawling towards her, and he's like, "If you were awake, I wouldn't be here." And I was like, yo, because you got this entity, this creature, that's terrorizing, all these Girl Scouts or girl campers in the woods, invading their dreams, threatening to steal them and eat them and, kidnap them. This, along came the spider, the dream catcher, about, this terrifying monster haunting people's dreams and nightmares. And then you got this horrifying scene for a kid where they basically feel like they're about to be killed and they're like, please, this can't be. I have to be awake. I have to be awake. And you got this menacing demon coming towards you being like, "If you were awake, I wouldn't be here." I'm like, yo, what the terrifying, man. And then you got monsters like Big Yellow from The Mascot. Now, The Mascot's not the greatest episode upon rewatch. It's got some flaws, but it's still pretty creepy, pretty scary. And Big Yellow is terrifying, man. That thing is straight nightmare fuel, straight Chuck E. Cheese. The worst case situation of Chuck E. Cheese that you read in creepypastas, that's what Big Yellow is, man. That thing is absolutely terrifying. And I recently read the Creepshow comic. I need the Shingo versus Big Yellow crossover event. I need a battle between the two. I got my money on Shingo, but that's only if Big Yellow can't use his mustard gas farts. But, if he's got the mustard gas farts, you know what I'm saying? These kind of farts, it's game over. But like on a one-on-one fight, I want to see Shingo from the Creepshow comic season 1 versus Big Yellow. I need that crossover event. All right, you got iconic villains like that. You got one of the greatest villains in all of the Haunting Hour episodes, Fear from Fear Never Knocks. Fear Never Knocks is one of the most brilliant story ideas that I've ever seen, and that's why it's rated up there, 9.8 out of 10. It's one of my highest ones because it's basically about these kids who have this dad who is this this country renowned therapist. He's this miracle therapist. Not their dad, but their grandpa. Their grandpa is this miracle therapist who can basically fix anybody's fears, and he basically cures all these people. He's about to get an award, and they're super shocked by it, and they find out that he's got this recording device that he always, plays when he's dealing with his patients, and he doesn't allow anybody near it. He doesn't want his kids in his workplace. But then when they eventually go in there, they realize there may be more to this recording machine than it may be. There's more than meets the eye. And let's just say it may have been a gift from a certain very evil deity who's played extremely well. One of the most terrifying boogeyman characters, Fear, and acted very well. The guy who plays Nosferatu, and who played Nosferatu in Are You Afraid of the Dark's episode, I believe the Tale of the Midnight or something about the cinema. That guy is playing Fear, and he does a fantastic job. Absolutely terrifying, absolutely badass idea. You got some terrifying moments that episode involving, there's literally a moment where the main girl's fear is this lunatic woman in her closet who chases after her in her nightmares and uses her long nails to claw her eyes out. That is in a kid's horror episode. The main characters are children. So this is a kid's horror episode. People, this is not for the faint of heart. Fear Never Knocks is truly terrifying. All right? And that's in the Haunting Hour. And you got, psychological episodes like Funhouse. Funhouse is this very crazy psychological episode. You got fun, campy episodes like Grandpires. Grandpires is a really cool idea about these kids who go visit their grandpa in his retirement home. It's like this big retirement trailer park. Oh, not trailer park, but this place that's called Sunset Avenue. And there may or may not be, a retirement area full of vampires, elderly vampires. And you kind of find out how you have to avoid and, stay awake and take them down. The grandpa's super protective of the kids. A lot of fun stuff that's in there. And I really enjoyed that one. I thought it was nice and campy and fun. Yeah, Haunting Hour has a lot of bangers. You have Pumpkinhead, Straight Nightmare Fuel. You have even bad episodes like Game Over. Game Over is a pretty fun episode. It's got some bad acting and stuff, but it is just pretty fun, pretty stupid episode that I enjoyed. And I did like the SPD, the cameo from the SPD Red Ranger. That's my boy right there. He makes a cameo as the Game Master, and that was super dope. I really like that. So yeah, Haunting Hour has gotten the most consistently high scores. A lot of 7+, a lot of 8+, even a lot of 9+ scores. And yeah, it's got a lot of bangers. I really enjoyed it. And I forgot to mention Headshot, another banger. That one is super dark. May or may not deal with Satan itself, corrupting models, and using them to basically sell their souls, kind of like a commentary on selling your soul for fame and fortune. And you have, what was that? I just remembered one. Stage Fright. Stage Fright is a super fun, campy one that has a nice little dark twist to it. The ending is super dark, super fun. So you see me smile. I enjoy Haunting Hour a lot. It's gotten the most consistently high scores, and it is objectively, I guess, the best TV show that I've watched so far. It is objectively speaking the best series for me, and I really do enjoy it. I used to binge this as a kid. And then the short stories, which I've not covered, those ones are bangers too. It has some of my favorite short stories in there. One of them is called Losers. Losers is about these really shitty brat kids who go to this carnival, and they're basically messing with people. They harass people. There's a lot of overweight people there who, brag about their different farms and foods and stuff. They bring fresh foods in and kind of show it off to the town and people, and they're harassing them. They're making fun of them. So then at the end of it, when the carnival's basically empty, these kids wander off, and then they get invited into this fun house to go in there and kind of be these star attractions. And they get marked as losers. They go in there, and it is a terrifying funhouse. There is some dark stuff in there. There is severed hands in jars, these pickle jars. It is disgusting. There may or may not be experimenting going on. There's it's this very weird, twisted sense of very rich, pompous people, kind of putting on these weird fetishized shows and making fun of people. So it's very strange, but it's really, really good. And the ending is sort of dark, where they feel like maybe we hallucinated and maybe this was all a bad dream. But turns out, nah, man, there's a lot more than meets the eye. I think you got Brush with Madness. I think Brush with Madness is in the Haunting Hour as well. And although the second half kind of fell off for me, the first half about this guy who can't control his hand, every time he picks up the paintbrushes, he feels like they're painting themselves. He paints these super dark, disturbing images of decapitated people and houses burning down with people in it, and all these terrifying, drawings and stuff. He can't control it. You got Revenge of the Snowman, which is about these kids who try pranking this guy and kind of making him scared. He's a really terrified kid who gets scared easily, and they talk about how there's this possibility where you can get scared so bad that you basically die. You basically become physically paralyzed and you pass away. So they pull this really mean-spirited prank. It may or may not go too far, and then there are some repercussions that go with that. A little bit of comeuppance at the end, but I thought it was super well written. I'm gonna have to reread and get back into that. So yeah, that was also a good one. There's a babysitter story in there, which is fun as well. That one's really twisted, sort of dark, sort of creepy, and well written. So there's a lot of bangers in that short story collection that I enjoyed tremendously. Stuff like the Halloween dance as well, which is a really fun one. Super dark, super festive, and really cool idea. So Haunting Hour is, objectively speaking so far, the best series. For those of you who've never checked out the Haunting Hour series, I would definitely recommend you pick up the Haunting Hour short story collection by Stein and give it a read. And also, for all of you out there who have not watched the TV show, I would suggest you guys check out the TV show. The episode that I would recommend you guys start off with, at least for some iconic ones that are some of the best in my opinion, watch Dreamcatcher, watch The Dead Body, watch Mascot, watch Headshot, watch Scarecrow. Check out Creature Feature. That's one I forgot. Creature Feature from The Haunting Hour has the best kid actor that I've ever seen. I think his name is Joel Courtney. Joel Courtney does a fantastic job at acting. He's a super fun-loving Peter Parker type of kid who's really obsessed with old school horror movies, like the classic ones, like, things like, Revenge of the Teenage Tick and, Bloody Beach Massacre and fun campy titles like that. He really loves that kind of stuff, and it has one of the best, I guess, friend relationships that I've ever seen in kids horror, where you get this really sweet relationship. The main character from The Dead Body actually returns as the best friend of Joel Courtney's character in Creature Feature. They have a fantastic friendship. It's super endearing, and the ending is super bittersweet. It'll leave you smiling. And it's really fulfilling. And also the main villain, Jake Skinner, who is Matt Angel, the son of Dan Angel, who plays Jake Skinner in The Dead Body. He appears as the main villain of this Creature Feature, and he does a very over-the-top, dramatic mad scientist kind of character with an accent and a mustache. He's very fun. So the Creature Feature is one I would check out. Big Yellow, check out that one. If you want some psychological horror, watch Funhouse. If you want some campy stuff, watch Grandpires. And if you want to really sort of, I guess, really trash but funnily, funny, shitty kind of episode, you could watch Pouf de Fromage, which I did not talk about because that one is horrible, but it is so bad that it's kind of funny, over the top, stupid. So if you want something like that, where you could turn off your brain completely and watch something absolutely ridiculous and stupid, you could watch Pouf de Fromage for some strange reason. And Brush with Madness, that's another fantastic one. Although it's very different from the short story in The Haunting Hour, Brush with Madness in the TV show is actually fantastic. I think I actually like that one better than the short story. Really well done, really cool. You should check out that one as well. So those are just some of my recommendations for The Haunting Hour. This has so far been the best series. Although Creepshow, although Goosebumps, and other series that I've checked out, Are You Afraid of the Dark, has had fantastic pieces in it that I really, really enjoyed. This series is the one that is the most consistently good, in my opinion. If you want a series that'll get you consistently good stuff that you can look forward to, I would check out this little blast from the past. And yeah, that's all I have for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Although I haven't made any reviews for this series, they're going to be coming out hopefully relatively shortly, and I would recommend you guys all check this out. One of my personal favorites. It's a lot of people's favorites out there, and I think that you guys would have a great time if you want something good to watch. If you're bored out there, go check out the series, start binging it. You're going to get a lot of variety, a lot of good weird stuff, a lot of good scares, a lot of good creepy dark elements, and it'll all come together in a pretty great package of a TV show as well as a short story collection. That's all I have for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay cool, stay Chadley, stay out here in the summer or winter or fall, whatever weather is out there for you guys. And yeah, stay tuned for the kids horror to come. I got some more adult horror, kids horror videos coming out, so I hope you guys will enjoy. And currently I am binging through Tales from the Dark Side, so there's going to be some more rankings and videos coming with that. And yeah, that show has gotten better as well, so excited for those ones to come. That's all I have for today. Deuces. Jesus, man. Yo, this thumbnail, bruh. I promise you, bro. It's a gift and a curse. I come up with some of the worst stuff you guys have ever seen, but simultaneously, it's some of the best stuff you've ever seen, which also comes from these videos. Hopefully. A lot of people just tell me it's shit, which, fuck you.